I grew up in Holland, in the south, in a town that was very religious, from religious parents. We were extreme Calvinistic. My name is Lawrence. I grew up very isolated from the rest of the world. Schools, libraries, everything was run by the church.
I went to a church school and church high school, and the church had everything of its own. So it had own insurance and everything was run by the church. So it's very isolated.
We didn't have a TV. We only had a church newspaper. We weren't allowed to go into any of the public libraries and see films. We're not allowed to listen to the radio. We're only allowed to listen to classical music and church music. Filtered internet with a filter that was run by the church, that you couldn't even go on Google or YouTube. Everything was blocked off, and was only the very necessary things that we could look up. Growing up, I knew something was different. And from a very young age, I wanted different things. Everybody was like playing soldiers and games, football. And I preferred to play with dolls, and I was playing with flowers. So it was different. And my parents encouraged me to play with guys when I preferred to play with the girls. So I had really good friends. When my parents were trying to push me and made me play with boys, because I was different and they could see that. When I grew up and I became older, they started bullying me because the way I walked or talked, the things that I did, the things that I liked, and the things I didn't like. So I got bullied at school, and a lot of teachers just said, oh, you just have to stand up for yourself and you just have to be a little bit more manly, then it will all go away. If you behave normal, then it'll go away. So they really didn't do anything about it. When I believe it was because I was gay, I had different interests. I got never scared. I was never scared of anyone. Even though the people that said that they would help with bullying, they didn't. It never got me down in a way. I knew that they were on the wrong side and it wasn't me, and if I couldn't show that I was affected by it. And I grew up with the idea that being gay was something that's probably gone wrong from a very young age. So something psychologically didn't go right, so then people turn out to be gay. It's not something you're born with. And when you are gay, what I heard was that there's nothing you can do about it, but you have to stay celibate. You're not allowed to be in a relationship. Definitely not allowed to have sex. You have to live a life of prayer, and that's it. You're definitely not allowed to act upon you being gay. And then they have the idea that you have to love the person, but not the sin. So my mother would say that, oh, we love you as our son, but we don't accept the gay part. And it's very hard, because how can you accept someone when you don't accept everything?
I always questioned things, and I think that made the relationship with my father much worse, because he's a very dominant person, so he wouldn't like it if I would question things, because things were the way he said it was. That was it.
So every time I would ask questions and he didn't know the answer, that must have been incredibly frustrating for him. And since I asked a lot of questions, he would get very upset, and it would end up in him shouting and screaming at me, and then beating up often. I don't even think I did anything wrong. It was just that he was probably frustrated with me that I wasn't living up to his standards, not being the man that he wanted me to be. Because my father was a deacon, we were role models in the church, and we had to be perfect. We turned up in church all the time. We're involved in everything. My brother would play the organ. Oh, and my mother wasn't allowed to, because she was a woman. She wasn't allowed to play the organ. And on Sunday we had to spend the whole day in house. We weren't allowed to go outside. We weren't allowed to play board games on the Sunday. Only we weren't allowed to drive a car or cycle. We had to walk to church. That's the only time we got outside on that day. And one night, it was on a Sunday evening, I was on the phone with a friend who needed help, and we weren't allowed to use our phones on a Sunday. On Sunday we had to switch them off, leave them downstairs, and we were absolutely not allowed to use them. To not disturb the Sabbath peace in a way. And I was on the phone with a friend because he had a girlfriend and they broke up, and I knew on the Saturday that things were a bit wobbly. So I said, I'll keep an eye on my phone to see if anything has happened. And then he messaged me saying that they had broken up, and he's had some problems in the past, and I knew it would affect him quite badly. So I offered to ring him. And I went upstairs, I rang him up, and my brother heard that I was ringing him. And he told my father came upstairs, and he was so upset and he was so angry that at a certain point he pushed me down the stairs, and that was it for me. I was like, I'm not doing this any longer. I came downstairs and I said, I'm leaving, and then my father blocked the door, and there was no way that I could get out. And so I think I must have calmed down a bit and went upstairs and was like, okay, I'm going to wait until my parents have gone to bed. I'll pack my stuff and then I'll leave. And when I got into my room, I looked at my phone and I saw it was still on. And my friends, so I picked up the phone, and then my friend was listening, and he said, Lawrence, you can come to us, we'll pick you up, we'll be there in about an hour, and you can stay with us for as long as you need to. So I was very lucky, so I packed my stuff and walked around for an hour around the village, about an hour, and I was really worried that they would have heard something and gone after me. But luckily it never happened, and I lived for a year with that friend in another village with very nice parents who were very open. They were much more relaxed, still extreme Protestant, but much more relaxed. They were very supportive. I really needed it that year, but then I still didn't know that I was gay. And I got because I was studying accounting, I wanted to do an internship, and I wanted to do it in London. So I came to London after a couple of months, and I all of a sudden encountered people who were different to me, who weren't from the same community, didn't have the same background. They were Jewish, Muslim, atheist, everything. And it made me think, and it made me realize that what I had was very isolated. I had to think for myself all of a sudden, and I had to understand what I believed and why I believed it, and I had to explain it and defend it, and that makes you really think and wonder. And I started to explore different churches all over London. I think I've had every denomination under the sun, from Caribbean churches to Presbyterian churches, Baptists. One day I got off the bus and there was a church outside the bus stop, and for some reason I was drawn to it, and I walked in and there was a Catholic church, and I wandered around and I wanted to know more because my parents were very, very anti-Catholic. So I walked into that church and I was fascinated by it, and then I got in touch I met the priest, and he offered me to work a year for the church, to volunteer for a year. I did that, and that's how I became Catholic, and I can still go every Sunday to Mass. And I often walk in, I light a candle. The thing that often a lot of people say is that they've cut ties with God and don't have a relationship with God, but I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people cut ties with the church, which I totally understand, because the church has done a lot of harm, and if it doesn't suit you, then don't look for it there. Look for it in the places where you feel connected to God. Go in nature or wherever you are and do it there. For me, I can find it in church, so I do go to church, but it's not easy because people in church are not the most gay-friendly ones. But it is important that you have faith within yourself, that you believe in yourself, but also believe in something. If something goes wrong, that you have that kind of support, something that carries you through. Because my faith has changed a lot, but it has always been there. It's always helped me get through things. It's something you can rely on. And when I came out as gay, I already had gone on a long journey. I had explored a lot and seen different churches and different places. And because of all the things that happened in my family, I understood that I needed God. It's not God's fault. I think it's God's plan, rather. If these things had never happened, if I hadn't been gay to start off with, I wouldn't have been here. I would have still been there, probably married to a woman and live a miserable life, not even questioning anything, and just living there, do the same thing all over. And I think you have to have faith. Faith is something different from religion. Religion is telling you what to do. But if you have faith, you have your own relationship with God, and you make peace with who you are. And it's just that God works in mysterious ways, as they always say. It is true. God has got a plan, and it always works out.